Good morning, y'all. This is my second morning video because I am not a morning person. Putting that out there. But I'm awake, and here we are. So, I want to talk about the presidential debates. Last night, I watched most of it before classes I did, and this morning I finished watching it, and I just want to give my thoughts and my response as a linguist, as a person who has taken Psychology 101, and as a random American. Because honestly, I think we need more of that, which is like an honest response from your average guy. Um, yeah, so I watched it. I was a little surprised. At first, let's first talk about the moderator, Christopher Wallace, I believe his name is. At first, I was like, he's trying to moderate, he's trying to keep it fair. But then, like, the further you got into it, the more you're like, wait a minute. Because he would, like, there was a few moments where, like, it seemed like Trump was cutting off Biden and interrupting him a lot, which he was. But then it was like when Biden interrupted Trump, there was one moment where he was literally like, "Oh, hold on, let's not interrupt each other." And he was like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Vice President, please continue." But he wasn't even the one talking. I was like, "Wait a minute," and I felt kind of bad for Biden, which is not a good thing. I mean, who wants to feel sorry for their presidential candidate, or the person who may be president? Um, Maybe, in my humble opinion, not going to happen. Knock on wood. But yeah, because like when Trump would like give him a remark or interrupt him, he was just like, and he would look all sad. He would look at the moderator, looking all sad. And the moderator would be like, sir, quit interrupting. Like, and I'm like, wait. And then like the times that Biden interrupted, he didn't do all that. So as much, he wasn't that heavy on it. So I was like, well, Um, but other than that, it was interesting. It was not as interesting as the Hillary and Trump debates. I feel like the Hillary and Trump debates, both of them were a lot more savage. It was from an entertainment television standpoint, a rating standpoint. The Trump Hillary one was a lot more um, interesting, a lot more entertaining, and even a lot more informative. Um, I'm gonna give an analysis of both the candidates. So first, Biden. Bro, this man, like, he did not give any, like, answers. Like, he was literally, like, asked a direct question, and he's like, oh, well, he was like, I am the Democratic Party at some point. But then he kept skirting responsibility, and he was like, he wouldn't answer a question really. He would just be like, well, I just know that the decision I make will be the decision I think is right, or the decision that's good in the moment, or something like that. And he didn't give an answer to what he would do in certain situations. And like half the questions were like, oh, well, some people say this about Trump, or you said this about Trump. What do you think about that? And I try not to watch really any. I didn't watch any recap videos, anybody else's reviews, because I want to have my own opinion. I don't want to be influenced by others one way or the other. Um, but I saw one person that mentioned, if the debates happened, he was like saying the Trump questions would be hard questions and the Biden questions would be like, oh, is Trump actually Hitler or is he Satan? And then like something like that. And I was like, that was kind of it. Like they asked him way too many questions about Trump, and then all of Biden's answers, like I said, he didn't give any direct answers about what he wants to do, or like I think nobody really knows. And he's kind of gone back and forth. He did say he's not for the Green New Deal, which was a little surprising, but I'm glad he actually gave an opinion on it or a stance on that. But he's gone back and forth on that. Um, and then, but most of his talking was just insulting Trump. And, you know, and then like when Trump made accusations to him, he literally just said, "It's not true. It's not true." Or so and so said. He would counter Trump's arguments by saying, "So and so said something different," or your official so and so said something different. And if you not like me and you're not like already already know about all these issues, or you've done a lot of reading or whatever, you could be easily swayed one way or the other because they're making accusations, especially Biden, making accusations, or when accusations made about Biden, he doesn't refute it. He just says it's not true, and then occasionally he says somebody else, agrees with him. Something I like about Trump is like some people consider it manipulative. That he'll be like, "Well, some people agree with me, I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. But I think blah blah blah." And they're like, "Oh, they're just saying he says that to get you to agree with him by saying some people agree with me." But I like that he's honest. He'll literally say, "Hey, some people think this, some people think that. I think this," and I'm like, "Yeah, like finally some honesty," because you know, like I like that Trump makes his stance very clear, um, and he also makes it clear some people disagree with him, some people don't, and he kind of lays out why that might be, aside from just being political rivals. And now let me say something good about Biden because I want to be somewhat impartial. I don't actually hate Biden or think he's like a terrible person. I do think that you have to be careful because even with the best of intentions, a lot of bad stuff can go down if the person is just pandering or just going along with whatever. And that's really how I see Biden. That's how most people see most politicians. It's just they're just a talking suit. They're just an empty head. They're just a representative of the party, and they just say whatever is the popular thing. And I made this example before. It's like gay marriage. All the Democrats were against gay marriage until it became kind of socially acceptable to be gay or to talk about gay stuff. And then they were like, "Oh, we're cool with them, but no gay marriage." It was basically the Republicans and the Democrats were on the same page on that for a long time. And honestly, they kind of are now. Some Republicans, contrary to popular belief, some Republicans, I mean, gay marriage isn't even an issue anymore, but in relatively recent history, some Republicans were against gay marriage for different reasons, like less government control. And then, yeah, some of them were against it because they didn't think it was proper, and some of them were for it. And to me, that's a little more honest than just kind of gravitating your opinion based on public opinion or based on the popular opinion at the moment. So I just feel like Biden, it's like you look back at his history, you look back at most of the politicians' histories and records, and it's just they say what they gotta say. It's like, okay, can I be borderline racist? Yeah, it's the 60s, it's okay. Oh, okay, can I be borderline racist? No, it's the 90s, I gotta be a little bit more neutral on that. Now it's 2020, you have to say everything's racist and everything's horrible. It's like they don't give reasons for why they think what they think because it's not really what they think. It's just they're just saying what they gotta say. I was about to say something good about Biden. Oh, I said I don't hate him. I actually, and this isn't really a compliment, but I feel bad for him. Like you can tell he's not emotionally the best, and I feel like if he had if because when I watched the Democratic debates, they had a whole bunch of people talking, but if someone like insulted somebody or called someone out or said something, made an accusation to somebody, they would give that person at least like 30 seconds to give a quick response. So it's not just like, oh, he's a corrupt and he embezzled money, and then you just believe it because it's not refuted. They would give a response. In this case, they allowed Biden to respond more than Trump, and then Chris Wallace, man, like back on Chris Wallace, he literally was like, what was it towards the end? He asked Trump about the election interference or about he asked both of them about mail-in ballots. And Biden just said it's completely trustworthy. There's no evidence that mail-in ballots are a problem. He didn't give why we should believe that. Trump gave plenty of examples why we should be concerned that non-absentee but mail-in ballots could be doggy doggy. This dog is cute. That why mail-in ballots, are a concern. And Chris Wallace was like, "Oh well, would you accept the results of a free and fair election, even considering mail-in ballots are being widely used, blah blah blah." And he's like, "I'm not gonna." Trump was like, "I'm not gonna stand for that. Like, I'm not gonna stand for, uh, you know, fraudulent election." And they're like, and then Chris Wallace was like, "Oh well, what does that mean? Does that mean you're gonna tell people to riot in the streets?" I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. First of all, don't put words in either of their mouths. Second of all, if you're going to accuse anybody of encouraging the people to riot in the streets, you can do it to the people that have actually been enabling and literally encouraging their supporters to riot in the streets for the last few months. How many months has it been? 3? I mean, if you look at Portland, places like that, it's been more than 3. Minneapolis. And I'm like, so that's a really, yeah. So at that point, it's like, okay, this is propaganda. You're putting words in his mouth, and I think a lot of people, I don't know because I haven't watched anybody's response, but I think a lot of people may, on the conservative side, will be more hard on Chris Wallace even than I am, because just still a small part of me that thinks he's impartial, but he shouldn't be given his opinion. He should ask a question, and if the question is not clearly answered, make them or ask them to clearly answer the question or to reiterate their response, which is what they usually do. But he didn't hold Biden to that standard. He held Trump to that standard, and he gave like a little monologue before his question, kind of putting a bias to it. In my humble opinion, it just wasn't. I get that he tried to make it civil, but he made it. He ramped up the tensions. You can't make accusations. What are you gonna do? Ask your supporters to riot in the streets? Don't make an accusation like that and then get annoyed when Trump gets emotional. Not emotional, but like a little worked up about it. I'm like, I would be like, I'm sorry. Can you say it again? What was that you said? Like, Trump was a little too nice, in my opinion. Um, and for anybody out there that wants to say like, oh, it was too mean, he was too mean, blah blah blah, like, have y'all watched like Parliament meetings from England or even places like China? Like, I swear North Korea probably has a less amicable political scene, and they have a one-party system with a dictator. Like, literally, if you watch political meetings from so many other countries, even some of the most totalitarian countries, you'll see some arguing and some insults, but then but but then Trump gets like interrupts him or gives him a snide remark, and it's like stop, and it's like, okay, I mean, I get you should ask him not to interrupt, that's cool, but like, it was just, I don't know, it was just, the whole thing felt very stifled, and they didn't talk to each other at all. Trump and Biden didn't ask each other any questions. They didn't really respond to each other, except for Biden making accusations and Trump responding and not being allowed to respond. So it should be a debate. Like, it was so funny because Trump said that he was debating Chris Wallace, and then later Chris Wallace was like, "Oh, we could trade seats if you want to be the moderator," and I'm like, I mean, if you're not doing your job, man, what do you expect? But like, it was almost like they were debating, and he literally did like help Biden reiterate points. It wasn't as biased as I thought it would be. I thought that Biden would have a lot more help for the moderators. I'm also surprised that Fox ended up doing the first debate, hosting the first debate. Of course, they put the most like anti-Trump Fox person on there. I feel like they should have had like, because like in the Democratic debates they usually had more than one. I feel like they should have had at least 2 or 3 different moderators. They can sit 6 feet apart or whatever, but they should have had at least 2 or 3. I mean, they could put like Laura Ingraham on there. Put Chris Wallace on there, so you have a Trump supporter, a not Trump supporter. And they could put a Democrat on there, or I mean, maybe you could find somebody that's relatively politically neutral. That might be a good idea. A lot of people wanted Joe Rogan to do it, which would be great because he's definitely pretty politically neutral, in my humble opinion. But they're not gonna, the financial interest. I don't think they're gonna put a regular guy on there. I mean, Joe Rogan's not exactly a regular guy, but compared to a to some kind of media personality or anchor he is. Oh my god, coffee is so good, guys. I got this Virginia coffee cup. I bought it because I lived in Virginia and I wanted a souvenir from where I lived. You'll see me wearing like Kentucky or Virginia or Florida or West Virginia, basically everywhere I visited or lived, um, like shirts or whatever. And I got this and it has a deer on it. It's so cute. There you go, deer. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on the debate, guys. Disappointed but not surprised. But also a little bit. What's the word I'm looking for? Okay, well, a little bit surprised that that it was a little bit not quite as biased as I thought it would be. I'll give them that. I'll give Chris Wallace that. He wasn't quite as much of a what's the word that the kids use nowadays? Uh, a shill. I always thought that shill meant shake, but now I think shill means a person who just does stuff to get paid. You know what? I don't know. I'm not down with the lingo, but but yeah. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Please discuss with me in the comments down below. If you like, if you enjoy hearing me give my viewpoint on things, if you also enjoy free speech, that's what I'm all about. Um, if you enjoy seeing interviews with or podcast style conversations with other people, to people from different backgrounds, different experiences, please consider subscribing to this channel. As a newer YouTuber, I would definitely appreciate it. I mean, I would appreciate it as a seasoned YouTuber as well, but it's even more special, when I can just really appreciate the people that help me get going. And yeah, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. I really appreciate it, guys. And I will see you guys in the very near future.